All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Speaking of Zane, December 7th, 2025, 328th edition of Speaking of Zane since we started this experiment back in 2018, believe it or not. And we haven't made every Sunday night, but we've made most of them in the last 7 years or so. But one Sunday that we did not make it was last Sunday. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a health emergency. In fact, our entire December here in the fabulous McDonald Estate and Insane Asylum has been turned on its head. Lori and I were originally supposed to be in London for really the entire entire month of December to include Christmas. We've done that before. Works out nice. I can go there for work and had planned to go there for work. And unfortunately, what was it? The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I was fine on Monday. Tuesday morning, I woke up and I was just dramatically out of breath and could not explain it. And it was so severe and so quickly onset that I knew something wasn't quite right. Even though I am healthy and I'm the healthiest I've been in 30 plus years, I knew something wasn't quite right. And so I went downstairs, got a cup of coffee, which really didn't help things going up and down the stairs. But anyway, woke Lori up and said, "Hey, listen, I think I need to go to the emergency room." And of course, she knew something was wrong because I would never ask that. I barely go to the doctor. I actually had just gone to the doctor a couple of months ago for an annual, and everything was in pretty good shape. But anyway, the severe breathing issues took me to the ER. I'll tell you though that from the time that I noticed it, like first thing in the morning, to treatment was like blistering fast. I mean, within the hour, we were in the emergency room at Kennesaw-Kennestone Hospital. Within the hour of me noticing it and having a half a cup of coffee, waking Lori up, we were in the emergency room there about 8 a.m, I guess. We got there, but anyway, no waiting. It was almost like Chick-fil-A. There was no waiting. Went right in, and it was within the next hour. So within an hour from me recognizing there was a problem to getting in the ER and then getting seen, it was within the next hour that I had a CAT scan and was diagnosed with the problem. Like, we're less than 2 hours and we already know what the problem is. It's just incredible because usually you get to the ER and you expect to wait and all the stuff, but it was like no waiting. Went right in, and within the hour had a diagnosis of some pretty massive clots in both of my lungs. More than two, but two that were blocking the blood flow, where they could actually get to them. They can't get to all of them because you can't navigate all these little tributaries. But anyway, so within that next hour, diagnosed, okay, guy, there's a serious situation here. The doc was like, I was cool with everything until the doctor had such a stern and sort of grave tone. And then I was like, well, what the heck is going on here? But so within an hour we're there, within an hour diagnosed, and then within the next hour treated. So we're talking about less than 4 hour window from recognizing to actual treatment. Um, it was like I was on the fast track for all of this. But anyway, they took me back and went did some roto-rooter up through my groin and navigated up through an artery to my lungs and got out the two massive clots in each lung. And then, of course, by then I was on some blood thinners and everything, so it could begin to break down all the other clots and stuff. Plus, I had one in my lower leg as well. So both lungs and lower leg, and but it was pretty quick. And then the next, of course, they like to keep a pretty close watch on you. I found out. So the next day and a half, 2 days, I was in the ICU. Um, so this was like blistering fast how all this happened. It's just incredible. But so I'm in the ICU and was there um, and made it to a regular room eventually, where I spent Thanksgiving while the whole family was gathered at Hannah's house. But I didn't tell Lori, but I could have gone first thing in the morning. But I knew that the kids and all the logistics, and Lori had the turkey and had to get it across town to Hannah's. I asked the nurses, can I just stay here? Can I stay here for the better part of the day while my family does the whole Thanksgiving thing? And that way I wouldn't interrupt anything. So they let me do that. And I had Thanksgiving at the in the hospital and just watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and did the Aldi stuff. And then once I figured out that the family and everything was done with stuff, I called Lori, and Lori drove from Hannah's and came and picked me up, took me home, and there you go. So not a bad deal. But it was I'm so thankful. It was a good time to be thankful for things over Thanksgiving, but I was so thankful that I didn't put it off any longer. And I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't ignore it. It was just so, it was so crippling, this shortness of breath, that there was no way I knew there was no way I could explain it away or ignore it or whatever. So thank goodness. I'm grateful that it was that severe that quickly, because that's what really forced me to do something about it. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for Lori. Lori is fantastic about these kinds of things, and she's an awesome caregiver and all the stuff, and she was great. And of course the staff there was fantastic. All the doctors and nurses, everybody at the hospital there were awesome. But so that was pretty good. Then I came home, like I said, Thanksgiving late afternoon, I guess it was. And then actually I took this last week off pretty much. I did a few things just so I didn't get too far behind on stuff, but took most of the week off and was able just to sort of recover and hang out. First few days I was pretty tired. First few days after I was just not my normal. I was just a little bit tired, so didn't really do too much. But the recovery went pretty quickly. I mean, I started walking again. I'm back up to my normal afternoon walk. I do a 2 to 3 mile walk in the afternoon. Did another one today with no labor breathing or anything. But once I get the clots out of there, everything's back to normal. It was never a lung capacity thing or anything like that. Just all about the blockage of the blood getting back to the lungs. The blood carries the oxygen to the lungs. That was the deal. Never had any never had any raspiness, never had any of that capacity issue. It was just a matter of the blood. And then of course, when that happens, when there's a blockage, your heart is trying to pump, but it can't pump past the clots. So the left side of your heart is like really working hard. And that was the other symptom, is the shortness of breath, and then the rapid heart rate. And they worry about that. They don't want the heart to be too strained. But my heart, turns out my heart's in really good shape. My lungs are in really good shape. So just they're not impeded by blood clots. Anyway, so they got me on some blood thinners and all the stuff that they normally do. So it shouldn't be a problem now, and should be good to go for another couple 100,000 miles. We'll see. But we did have. I mentioned we were supposed to be in London this month, which we're really looking forward to. We really love December in London, and we actually had a side trip to Dublin planned this time. I even had the tickets bought, the hotel, all the stuff. Had to cancel all that, but I even had us a tour to the Guinness factory, which I'm told is legendary. And we had tickets for the Guinness factory. You can't get those back, so I lost that. Also had a Guinness glass that was being engraved for me and everything. Lost all that, but anyway, we'll have plenty of other times that we can do that. But I know Dublin is beautiful in at Christmas time as well. But we'll just have to figure that out next year. But anyway, I'm grateful, thankful for all that I talked about, for everybody that prayed for me, everybody that was thinking about me, all that stuff. My colleagues at work were fantastic, of course, and so it was really good. Well, let me do a little acknowledgement here. I see we got a bunch of people jumping in. I know that Lori is in there, Jimbo Miller's in there, Daryl is in there, Brenda Lusk is in there up in Michigan, and Ken's in there. So Ken is in Hawaii. Him and Janet are in Hawaii. More about that in a minute. My dad is in there in a wet South Georgia, he says. And let's see, Lori is chronicling. Lori did notice. Lori did notice in the week leading up to the event, I did have some shortness of breath. And I noticed it on my afternoon walks. There's a couple of big uphill areas, and I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I don't get winded. I have really good respiratory. So I was like, why am I having to catch my breath walking up these hills? And I'm thinking, I had myself convinced I just had like a chest cold or something, and it didn't really inhibit me. In fact, half of my walk I usually run, and once I get up the hills and everything, I would run the rest of the route until I turn around and come back, and no issues at all. It was just that uphill. But anyway, I don't know how I got off on that, but anyway, there's Brenda. Lori chronicling. Yeah, Lori did see. Lori could tell that I wasn't quite, even though I was trying to excuse everything away. Lori's very observant that way. But well, there's my buddy Chuck Hensley in there. Hey Chuck, how you doing, pal? And cousin Toby's in there. Hey Toby. And Travis is in there. Travis Loest, one of Zane's old battle buddies. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you in there. All right. Well, good turnout. Appreciate you guys always joining us here on Speaking of Zane, where we take the opportunity to keep his memory alive by speaking his name. They say a person dies twice, once when they take their last breath, and then again when their name is no longer spoken. So we will speak the name Zane McDonald and Tyler McDonald, for that matter, until we can't speak it anymore. But this Speaking of Zane live stream gives us a forum to talk about that and other things, of course, as you guys have seen us develop over the years. But all right, so back to work tomorrow. And I've got a lot of time off at work that I'm going to take. So I'm really probably only going to work for another 5 or 6 days, and then I'm taking the rest of the year off. But just kind of hang around the house. Not quite the December we had planned, but it'll be good. I think this will be this is the first December that I'm home, because the last 2 Decembers have been in London. So anyway, that'll be good. So back to work tomorrow. College football. Wow. What a season, huh? I was a little disappointed that Texas A&M wasn't more considered for the SEC championship than they were. I know they had that loss to Texas the week before, which sucked, but they were still 11-1. Alabama had lost 2, I think, and Georgia had lost to Alabama. Anyway, you guys know what happened. Georgia played Alabama, Georgia won. But I think A&M's about 7. A&M's ranked about 7. I guess Indiana beat Ohio State, so Indiana, Ohio State, and then it worked Georgia, and then it works its way down from there. But with Ole Miss up in the top as well. But it's been a good season. Probably my favorite game of the weekend was Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State, only in their second year, I guess, in this conference they're in, and they win the championship. Last year they won like 2 games. This year they won the championship, beat Jacksonville State over in Alabama. That was a really good game. Of course, our daughter Hannah is a KSU grad, so I watched the Owls. But and then Zane's father-in-law, Dave Wallens, the field at Kennesaw State is named after him and his family, the Wallens Family Field. I texted him after the game on Friday, and I said, Dave, the only thing that would have been better is if KSU had been home playing on Wallens Family Field. But he said he agreed 100%. But a championship's a championship. So that was a really good game. So it'll be good to see how the championship unfolds and then how all the bowls go and everything for the big teams. All right. Well, let's see. I mentioned Lori and I were supposed to be in London. So this coming Saturday is Wreaths Across America. And it's likely that there'll be Wreaths Across America at a national or veteran cemetery somewhere near you. Lori and I had planned, and we even had an Airbnb booked and everything. I was able to cancel that, but we were going to Cambridge. We were going to go Friday, take the train up to Cambridge, stay the night. And the Airbnb we were staying in, we were less than a mile walk across a field. There's a trail from this little village to the cemetery. It was going to be awesome. I had so much planned. There was a nice pub there downtown, walking distance to the Airbnb. It just was going to be such a legendary trip. But unfortunately, we won't be able to do the Cambridge American Cemetery for our Wreaths Across America. So we will retreat, and we will do Wreaths Across America here at Georgia National Cemetery on Saturday. And so that'll be great. We've not been able to do it here the last 2 years because we've been in London. So there's another positive thing for us missing the London trip. But so that'll be this Friday. I know there's wreath laying at Jefferson Barracks and near St. Louis and Omaha, down in Tampa, at several places in the Tampa metro, all across the country. There'll be wreath layings there. I know that Daryl, I don't know how how you got this done, Daryl. I didn't know they would let you do it, but Daryl was able to go to Jefferson Barracks yesterday, a full week ahead of the formal, and actually place the wreaths that he purchased, that he sponsored, and friends of his sponsored. And Daryl placed wreaths there yesterday. And then today, Daryl made about a 500 and some mile round trip from the St. Louis metro down to what's the name of that little town? Kenton, Tennessee. Daryl went to the New Concord Baptist Church in Kenton, Tennessee, where he placed a wreath on his wife Wanda's brother's headstone. I think I got that right, Daryl. But that's very cool. Daryl was able to do that. And then I have a lot of my colleagues at work, friends and colleagues that will be going out for the formal wreath placement at Jefferson Barracks on Saturday. We have a full team of folks from my work that'll be going out there. So that'll be cool. So we can all report on those activities next week. All right. Well, let's see what else. Hat of the week. Hat of the week. Hat of the week. Hat of the week always has something to do with what is going on around here. And I have worn this hat before as hat of the week, but when Lori got back from Hawaii, but I thought it was appropriate to wear today on the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. And boy, just an incredible time in our history for sure. I hope we never forget it. And I know the people of Hawaii will never forget it. In fact, Ken and his wife Janet are out there now, been out there for several days, and they were up this morning participating in the morning ceremonies and all the other activities. And Ken has been visiting and chronicling the footsteps of his father, who is a Pearl Harbor survivor. Unfortunately, Ken's father passed a few years ago. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery along with his mom. But Ken has done a fantastic job raising awareness and paying tribute to the victims of Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the survivors of Pearl Harbor. I know that Ken visited along with his father, at least on one occasion, and probably more, for some reunions that they've had over the years. And that's a great thing, Ken, that you do there to keep his memory alive and the memory of all those that we lost there. Over 2,000 men that we lost that day, many of whom are still entombed forever in the ships at the bottom of the harbor. Tragic day in our history for sure. But if you, we've had Ken on the program before and shared this. I'd like to do it again. It didn't work out this time, but if you'd like to read the account, the firsthand account of his father's observations of the day, beginning with him getting up and going out to the NCO club for breakfast, and then going to the bus stop to catch the bus to go to the golf course, and then everything that transpired throughout the rest of that day. Ken's father chronicled that. Ken keeps that alive, and Ken actually posted that on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group. So go to either to Ken's Facebook page or go to the Speaking of Zane Facebook group, and you can read the account. It's fascinating to hear a firsthand account of the events of the day, and you kind of get the whole fog of war. You hear about his father comparing notes with others about what they observed and what they experienced, and how some of the accounts corroborated and differed, and it's just an incredible human story there. Ken, I hadn't asked you this, but I would love to share that account with all of my military veteran colleagues at my work, if it would be okay for me to do that. I would love to do that tomorrow and let them read that. I think it's fascinating, and I'm glad that you keep that at the forefront. And wishing you and Janet a good rest of your trip there and safe journey home when you're all done. Okay, well, let's see. We did have. Let me tell you what I think we've had over the course of the last couple of weeks. Daryl has made several visits since we were last together to Jefferson Barracks. I'm going to say 3. And then he made the visit to the New Concord Baptist Church. So I've got Daryl down for 4 visits since we were last together. My dad and my sis, I always got them down for a couple of visits a week. And then I know we had a friend of mine, Debbie Winter, who is the sister of a friend and colleague of Steve Shirley's, who's since moved from Georgia down to Tampa. But anyway, she was up here, and she has a husband, brother, father, I think, all buried at Georgia National Cemetery. In fact, one of them is right across the way. Actually, 2 of them are right across the way from where Zane is in Section 11. And when she's there visiting her kinfolk, she will always visit Zane. And she did that again this week and placed a flower at his headstone. I appreciate her for that. And Lori and I had plans to go out there this week while I was recovering. It never quite worked out. I was too tired early in the week. It was raining and miserable all week. Just didn't seem like we were going to get the value out of the visit that we always love to get. And so it hadn't worked out. I know Lori has some flowers and different things always ready there. So perhaps this week, I know it's going to warm up a little bit, and we'll get out there. But and then of course I've got Ken down for Ken. What is the name of the cemetery there that you visited today? I've got Ken down for that one. So if I add them all up, I think totaling 13 visits for the week, and we're at about 1,634 visits. This relatively small group of Punch Bowl, that's right, thanks Ken, of Patriots have made over the years, and I think it's kind of cool that we chronicle those, and they certainly are sacred for sure. So thank you guys for doing that with us and sharing those with us. Now here's where I'm a little vague on the week, or on the last couple of weeks. On the Thank a Vet challenge. Now, it's not just thanking a vet. You know, when we encounter veterans in our daily lives, whether it's at work or school or play or church or the grocery store, and we strike up a conversation or we do say thank you, we we chronicle those, and we've been doing that for quite some time now, quite a few number of years. And it's always interesting to compare notes on who we bump into and all of those things. And I know this week myself, I had 5 all from work that I had exchanges with throughout the week. But those are the only ones that I'm aware of. So if anybody has any over the last couple of weeks, any interactions or thank yous, let me know, and I'll tally them up here real quick. Lori had a retired Marine. Okay, so we got one in there for Lori. Usually you guys do a really good job of telling me in the chat or posting, and I capture all those, and then when I'm doing my prep, I'll tally them all up. Ken, I figured you had quite a few there. Hard not to, considering a very target-rich environment. No pun intended there. But we'll get you down, Ken, for 22. That's a good week. And then Dad had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How about that? Good job. 7 for Mac Marine. Okay, Daryl, appreciate that. Daryl's got a Korean War vet. That's awesome. They are leaving us at a rapid pace now as well. Very good, Ken. Appreciate that. Yeah, I know that you're not done there. And Hawaii is full of military veterans. I know for sure, especially around today's activities and all. Well, very good. So let me add up real quick so I can get a total here. 29, 30. We'll say 35. 35 is a pretty good week. So 35, that'd be 49. So we're at 3,849. So we need about 150 to get to the 4,000 mark. So I know we'll get there in no time, but appreciate you guys indulging me on the tally there. I appreciate that. Well, let's see, organizations. The only thing I have organization-wise to share, I already mentioned Reach Across America. And you all know what's coming up Next summer, we'll be doing the Running to Honor 5K. We'll be doing that up in Michigan. And then we'll do that again in London and in Amsterdam. The teams over there are committed to me coming back over and spearheading that race in both of those cities again next summer. So we'll have a busy July next year. Already planning what next July is going to look like at work. And then, of course, in August, I am more committed than ever to do the 50-mile march. So I'm not going to let pulmonary embolism or two stop me from that. So should not have any more clots now that I'm on the blood thinner. So I'll be ramping up my preparation for the 50-mile march next August, and my fundraising is going very well for that. I'm over the halfway mark there on that. The one thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I may have mentioned this, but Kelly at My Warrior's Place, she has bought an entirely new property in Punta Gorda. You remember she bought a property in Punta Gorda. Lori and I have visited there. It's out in the middle of a swamp, but she bought another property in Punta Gorda, which the whole operation is going to sort of move to late spring, early summer. It's already got it's got cabins on it, and the whole 9 yards. It's on a waterway. It's absolutely beautiful. She's asked me if I'd come as soon as I can and help with the network and the Wi-Fi and all the stuff there like we did at the other place. And I said, of course. So she has reserved, Lori, she has reserved us a cabin at the new place in January. So it's like the week of the 19th of January or something like that. So as we get closer, we'll lock that in. But so at a minimum, get down there, get a good site survey, and get a plan of attack for helping her stand that property up and everything. So that'd be fun. It's been great partnering with her, befriending her, watching her, the evolution of everything. I think the plan eventually is that they will exit the current property and then just have the two new properties in Punta Gorda, significantly more south than where they're at in Ruskin. But anyway, this new place looks absolutely fantastic. If you don't follow her, she's got a Facebook page, My Warrior's Place, and you can go see. She did a post a couple of weeks ago about the new property with some pictures. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, that'll be something that we do in January there, at least to scope things out. All right. Well, I think that is about it. It looks like Lori is trying to do some coordination with Travis there. I know she wants to talk about the Running to Honor. The thing that's interesting about this 2026 Running to Honor 5K is it's going to focus on every year. Aaron has a theme. This year is going to focus on those veterans who left us after returning, whether it was to PTSD or suicide or drugs or whatever the case may be. And this, it will happen to be the 10th anniversary of us losing Zane. So that's why we're planning to be there in person, on site there, and take part in the recognition, the festivities, and everything there. So I may end up doing the run in London and Amsterdam before we actually do it in Michigan, but I'll have to work the logistics out. But anyway, I think that's about it for tonight, folks. We'll let you get along the way there on your Sunday evening. Appreciate you guys joining us as always, and look forward again for next week. Remember, if you come across a military veteran, service member, first responder during the course of your work and play, they certainly deserve an acknowledgement at a minimum, and maybe even a thank you or some sort of conversation. You never know where you might be the one thing that turns somebody in a different direction, right? Or keep, I don't know. It's a strange thing, but like the way that God will use people, we may never even know it, and but you just keep your mouth shut. He doesn't use you. You got to open your mouth, and I think that's what we do here. So appreciate every one of you, and have a great week. Make it count. And Ken, have safe travels, you and Janet. And again, appreciate everything that you do to remember Pearl Harbor. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody again next Sunday night for another edition of Speaking to Zane. God bless everybody. We'll see you.